Test. Okay, this should work. All right, let's look. Vamos a ver un poco. Vamos a tratar lo que es el pretérito, las conjugaciones de algunos de los verbos más comunes que a lo mejor te van a venir en el examen, ¿verdad? Y, ¿qué más? Algunos verbos irregulares y cómo se conjugan, ¿verdad? So, let's get into it. Preterite tense, okay? So when we are dealing with the preterite, um, we are, well, first off, all of our verbs are going to be basically one of three. As you know, we have our false alarm, hold on. We have our ER, we have our IR, and we have AR verbs. Now, our ER and our IR verbs have a good deal in common. Okay, these share a lot of um, endings when we conjugate, and I'll show you some of that. But let's just take a look at a common word here, um, like comer. All right, to eat. Comer. All right. This is a word you better know if you ever gonna go to a Mexican restaurant or to Mexico in general. Okay. So we have comer. Now it's an ER verb, and one thing I want to explain is that whenever you're conjugating, really what you're doing is removing the ending. So whether it's an ERI or AR verb, you take that off and then you're going to plug in this case, the preterite endings, okay? So let me just write preterite up here. Preterito. All right. So let's look at the let's look at the ER preterite endings, okay? We're going to put them over here. So whenever we conjugate, we're going to be doing it for the subject. So whether that's yo, whether that's tú, or él, ella, or usted, or nosotros, or ellos, or ustedes. I'm skipping vosotros right now. Let me know if you need it, though. I can review it. So yo obviously is I. Tú is the familiar or the informal way of saying you, like you would say to a buddy or someone you're familiar with. Él, ella, y usted is he, her, and he, she, sorry. And usted is more of a formal use, someone maybe your elder, someone who's higher up than you, etc. Nosotros, whoops. Nosotros is us or we, and ellos and ustedes is ellos. You can see how ellos is like multiple L's or multiple ellas. So it's ellos. Okay, so that just means them. And ustedes is multiple U's. So it means you all, or kind of like y'all, sort of. So you see, these are very, they just piggyback off another. El and ellas. Ellos is just multiple he's or she's, or both. Ustedes multiple U's. Okay, I'm sure you know all that. Okay, so let's go over our ER endings. ER endings for the preterite, okay? Yo is y. Tú is iste. Él, ella, and usted is yo. Nosotros is imos. Ellos and ustedes is hieron. Ieron. All right. So the easiest way to go about this, and I'll show you some of my kind of ways I remember stuff personally, is to get these endings down. And when you approach a verb, you will take off the ending, as I mentioned earlier, and you'll just plug these in. So for yo, it would be yo. And remember, in Spanish, you don't always need to say the yo. I'm just doing this for clarity. But since we're conjugating the verb, sometimes yo comí, it's kind of redundant. You can say it, and sometimes it's good for emphasis, but you don't have to. Okay, so yo comí, tú, right? So we took off the er and we plugged in our I. Tú, what are we gonna do here? Come over here to our endings. Iste, comiste, right? We'll just pick one of these. Usted, or we'll do él. Él, he. So I ate, you ate, he ate is what? Comió, comió, ¿verdad? Nosotros, so we go, nosotros, what we do? Comimos. Okay? And then I'll just pick one of these. We'll go ellos, and then ellos, or I'll show you the abbreviation. Ustedes. Oh, sorry, my writing. Ellos or ustedes, that's a UDS for clarity. Comieron, okay? Comieron, right? Cool. Okay, so here's how I remember some of these to make it easy. This yo, what is in English? I. And look what it is. It's just an I. So yo comí. I just put an I there. Comiste, for me, that just feels nice. It feels like it's more familiar, like tú. And comió, for usted, it feels a little bit more formal. So I don't know why this makes sense to me, but comiste just feels more like you're talking to a buddy. And then if you were to say, so if you're asking someone, have you eaten already? You would say ya comiste. To your friend, you would say ya comiste. And if it was to your friend's grandmother, you would say ya comió, which is just a little bit more formal. Ya comió versus ya comiste. So that's how I remember those. You can also remember it in that you're just adding on. You see how comí and this is comí-o? You're just adding on a letter and putting an accent on it. So there's different ways that you can figure out what clicks with your brain, or you can just memorize them straight up. Nosotros comimos, imos, nosotros. I always think of the os and the os just line up for me. Nosotros comimos. That's how I think of it. And then comieron. I like to think of él, ella, and usted. And this is just multiple él, ella, so it's ellos, and ustedes. I like to think of it as just more letters tacked onto that. I mean, I know there's no O there, but I just go comieron. So this is more people than just one. Él, ella, and ustedes is ellos and ustedes. So it has more letters. So there's a little, hopefully, hacks. Maybe that helps or doesn't. Okay, so let's do one more quick. Um, let's do one more quick ER verb, like leer. Well, leer's slightly irregular. Um, morder. Okay, we're gonna do morder. Maybe there's one that's a little bit more common, but we're just gonna do morder. Okay, so morder, and I'll give you a second to kind of like do this in your own head. Morder. Okay, take a look at these. Morder means to bite, by the way. Okay, morder, to bite. All right, think about what you're gonna do. First, we're going to extract this and we're going to replace it with these, okay? So for the yo form, we're getting rid of this. And if I want to say I bit, I would say mordi, mordi, mordi. And if I want to say you bit, I would say mordiste, mordiste. So all I'm doing is just plugging those endings in. Then I would say, if I say she bit, it would be ella mordió. Getting that ending put in there. If I want nosotros, we bit, it would be nosotros mordimos. Mordimos. Okay? And then ellos, they bit, would just be mord. And then hieron, mordieron, mordieron. Okay? So look, we just plugged in these endings. Iste, yo, imos, hieron. So if you practice that a little bit, just saying iste, yo, imos, hieron. Or if you like kind of like the yo is I, so it has the I, the tú feels more familiar, so on and so forth. Nosotros comimos, some of that stuff helps. Okay, let's go preterite of an IR verb. Okay. Um, okay, so let's look at, so these are our ERs that we did. Let's look at an IR verb, okay? And we'll see the similarities. So let's do our conjugations. Let's pick an IR verb real quick, like dormir is irregular. I'm trying to think of a common one. I mean, fingir, but that's not common. But we'll use it for right now. While I'll think of one while I show you the endings. Okay, so the endings for IR verbs. We can just put it right here. So, IR endings. Okay, you ready? It is yo, y, tú. I'm gonna slightly abbreviate this. I don't want to rewrite all this. Tú, iste, él, ella, and usted. So, él, ella, usted, y yo, nosotros. Sorry, handwriting's evolving. Imos, ellos, and of course it can be ellos and ellas, right? So if they're all female, it would be ellas. If it's mixed or all males, if it's either mixed or all males, it's ellos. If it's all females, it's ellas. Ellos, ellas, and ustedes, just going to abbreviate it, is hieron. Oh, wait, I'm noticing something. Oh, they're the exact same. Okay, well, that's easy. So our IR verbs are the exact same preterite conjugations as the ER verbs. So that makes it pretty easy. So um, so let's look at Let's look at an example. I should have done all of this in a different font. So let's look at, I mean, a different color. Let's look at an example. Let's do fingir. We could do oír. That's irregular. We could do imprimir. Okay, let's do imprimir. Okay. Imprimir. Now this means to print. Okay. I'm sure y'all have certain IR verbs that you're learning, but this'll be fine because we're just plugging in stuff. Okay, so the exact same thing. We'll do this really fast. If I printed, past tense, it would be what? Hold on first. Let's remember what we're doing here. We're extracting the IR. We're getting rid of that. And we're going impri. If I did it, what's the ending here? Imprim I. Okay. If you did it, it would be imprimiste. Exact same thing. This is all the exact same. If she, he, or formal you did it, it would be imprimió. If we did it, if we printed, nosotros imprimimos. Okay? And if they, ellos, or them, or you all, sorry, did it, then it would be impri, and then what? Imprimieron. Super easy, okay? So, there's our IR, exact same as our ER. Okay, now, lastly, let's look at some, I wish I could, if I knew how to do it, I would change that color. Let's look at some, we're going to look at AR, okay, real quick. AR does its own thing. And its endings are yo, e, which is an E with an accent, tu, aste, okay, not totally different because look, that's an A by the way. Iste for ER and IR, that makes sense. Aste, exact same thing, we're just respecting the fact that it's an AR, so we put aste. And then I'm just going to put one of these just so we know, so it's, but it is él, ella, usted. I'm just going to put usted. O, okay? So it's just slightly simpler. We don't need the io, we just need the o, okay? And then nosotros, okay? Nosotros amos, all right? Exact same thing, just for AR, amos. And then ellos, ustedes, and ellas. I'm just going to use one of them. I'll just use ustedes. Aron. Exact same thing, just for AR. Okay, you see the similarities here? Instead of E, it's E. And then, instead of iste, so think if ER and IR are the same, it makes sense that, you know, they made a deal and he said, hey, I'm IR, you better let me have E, okay, and iste. And we'll put you ER in some of these. Okay, that's getting kind of weird, but you can see how AR just does its own thing. Aste, amos, aron. Doesn't need to share the E and the I here because it's E and I sharing. See? So, just yo, tú, aste, usted, o. Nosotros amos, ustedes aron. Okay? Let's take a quick peek at an example. Let's take the verb tomar. Okay? Tomar means to take, or it's very common for it to be used for to drink. Okay? probably in your situation on your test, it's going to be just used as to take. But like in Mexico and most countries, they say tomar to mean drink as well. It means both. Okay. Um, all right. So let's look at yo, I took, right? Past tense. I took would be yo. Don't forget this. Remember what we're doing is we're extracting this right here and we're going yo tomé, right? You see this right here? So we take off the AR and we plug in our yo ending. Yo tomé. Tú, you took. Tú tomaste. Simple. Just like our ER, IR. In fact, our ER and IR verbs are harder than the AR verbs just because there's more letters and stuff, um, in my opinion. I mean, tomar, tomaste, that's just super easy. Um, and most people would have shown AR first. So, anyways, we're doing AR last. Usted, or we'll do el just to mix it up. He tom. Take the AR off, and what's our ending? Tomó. Tomó. Right? Nosotros. Okay. Nosotros tom. And what's our ending? Amos. Tomamos. All right. Ustedes. I'm just going to abbreviate it. UDS. Tom. Okay. I know I got tom right there. Take the AR off. And we want to plug in aron. Aron. And I like to think of it kind of like um this is singular, just needs, it's not quite as easy as I, right? Yo is I, that's I. But it's the same thing, it's just an E. Tomaste, same thing, just AS. Tomo, just for one person. Either he, she, or formal you. Usted. Tomo, one letter for one person. Ustedes is multiple letters for multiple people. Them, ellos, ellas, or you all, which would be ustedes. So we put more than one letter. It's aron. And nosotros tomamos. That's just how I remember it. Nosotros tomamos. So amos. So aste, o, amos, aron. And there you go. That's preterite. That's the meat and potatoes right there. Now, lastly, fortunately or unfortunately, there are irregular verbs. What color should we use for these guys? I've already done a green. We'll just use a yellow. Okay, so here are some really common irregular preterite verbs. All right, irregular verbs. Okay, we have ver, to see. We have ser, to be. We have hacer, to do or to make. To do or to make. We have, what's another one? Ver, ser, hacer, tener. To what? To take. That's a common one. I'm sorry. What am I doing? We just did to take. This one obviously isn't to take. It is to have. Sorry. We're on autopilot. Tener is to have. And last good one is oír, which is to hear or listen. We can say it's also to listen. It's fine. Okay. So even among the irregular verbs, there will be some patterns. All right. I'm also gonna add leer. which is to read. Okay. I'm going to show you a few of these real quick. All right. And our whole point of this is to find commonalities between everything because there are patterns. Language is full of patterns. Okay, so ver. You can notice this is an ER verb, 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 this is an IR verb, this is an ER verb. The vast majority, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to come up with one. I'm trying to think of an irregular AR verb. There might not be any. I think the regular verbs are almost exclusively ER and IR. Okay, so let's take a look. We're still going to apply the same concept where we get ver and then we take off the ending. Now, it looks kind of funny because there's only 3 letters and 2 of them are the ending, so we just end up with a V, but it's going to make sense because if we remember our IR endings, you're going to see the similarities here. And I might need to do a slight correction. Ver is technically not a, in fact, I'm just totally wrong about this. I need to edit this list. Ver is not a regular. Let's conjugate it and see. So what would the yo form be? It's just, well, let me explain. It's not super regular, and we'll look at it. Okay, so yo, I saw. So what's our ending? What would normally be our ending? E. Okay. The thing about I saw is that there's no accent on this I right here. Okay. Tú, you saw, viste. Totally normal. Totally par for the course. We'll just do él vio. Okay. Exact same except no accent. So I guess in that case it is irregular. But all of these are just straight up from our list except they don't have accents. By the way, this is not an accent. Not a tilde or whatever you want to call it. I'll just say accent for simplicity. This is not supposed to be a tilde. That's just bad handwriting. Okay. Nosotros. I'm just going to abbreviate it. Okay. Vimos. Totally standard. Vimos, right? Took off the ER. We put IMOS. Nosotros vimos. Okay. And then we have ellos, ellas, and ustedes. What's the ending? We're just plugging it in. Vieron. Okay. Super easy. All right. Just no accent and no accent. Why? Because it's one syllable. B, bio. I mean, I guess that's two. Well, this kind of forms a its own syllable. Bio, bio. I guess it's technically one syllable, so it doesn't need an accent. We won't get too much into that. Okay. Now let's look at more of a traditional irregular verb. This is a really common one. Ser means to be. This is really important. Okay. Ser. Okay, this gets a little weird. The yo form is fui. Okay. Now, this is quite strange, this fui. How do we get from ser to fui? The main thing to remember is that once you remember that it's fui or any of these forms, then they all follow the same rules. Okay. Tú, what do you think it would be? If yo is fui, what do you think tú would be? Well, it's going to be fuiste. Okay. What do you think él, ella, and usted would be? In this case, this is why this one's irregular. It's going to be fue. Okay. So and you know what? This is cool. I forgot to put this in here. This is the same conjugation for ser and ir, right? To go. So I should have added that here. Okay. So ser and ir, should have put it right there, have the same exact conjugation, and they mean to be and to go. Huge, super common verbs, and it's kind of nice because they share the exact same forms, right? So yo fui, I went or I was. Tú fuiste, you went or you were. So like let's look at an example sentence. It would be like tú fuiste a la playa ayer. You went to the beach yesterday. Or you could say tú fuiste muy grosero con ella, to mean like you were very rude or mean to her. Okay, so you can see same thing. Él fue a la playa ayer. He went to the beach yesterday. Or él fue muy grosero con ella. You could say ayer if you wanted to. He was mean to her yesterday. Okay. Yo fui a la iglesia el domingo. I went to the church. I went to church on Sunday. Okay. Then let's look at nosotros. I should have probably been doing example sentences. I'm sorry. Nosotros fuimos. Okay. So you can see our endings are kind of like fu, 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 fu. And then we have I, iste, we, imos. And then for ellos and ellas and ustedes, sorry, I'm just doing the abbreviation. It can also be ellas. Fueron. Okay. So, eron, imos, iste, y. Okay. So not entirely off off the wall, right? They still follow a pattern. E, we've seen that before. Iste, that's straight up ER-IR conjugation. E, that's a little different. Imos, straight up from our other conjugations. And eron is a little different because it's not ieron, but it's still very similar. Okay, so that's ser and ir. Those are two extremely important verbs, and they share the same conjugation. We can do one or two more real quick. Sorry, it's just so long. I'm just trying to think of what she might give you. Let's do hacer and tener real quick, and then I'll let you do these on your own. You can, if you have any questions, let me know. So, hacer, let's do it right here. Hacer is to do or to make. And this one is going to be yo hice, tú hiciste. What the heck? Hiciste. Hiciste. Él, ella, en usted. Hizo. Okay. So little different. Yo hice. I made or I did. Tú hiciste. You did. This is really straightforward. Hiciste. We've seen that. And then we have hizo. Okay, which isn't still not that crazy because we're still just doing like a o ending, which is common in a lot of these that we've seen. So hice, hiciste, hizo, nosotros hicimos. Terrible handwriting. Hicimos. Hicimos, right? That's really standard. And then ellos, ellas, and ustedes. Ustedes is hicieron. Right? hicieron. Okay? So, look at these endings. We took off the ER, and since it's irregular, we changed this A, which, sorry if that's confusing, that is an A. We changed this A to an I. So we have E, 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 E. Okay? In fact, we have is, 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 is. Here it changes to a zeta, to a Z, but it's still is. Okay? So technically, we're still getting rid of the ER. Okay? And we're replacing it with our endings. And that E is really ugly, but that is an E. Yo hice. Tú hiciste. Él hizo, just an O. Nosotros hicimos, I-M-O-S. Ustedes hicieron, I-E-R-O-N. Okay? So, yo hice, I did mi tarea ayer. I did my homework yesterday. Yo hice mi tarea ayer. Tú hiciste tu tarea ayer. Él hizo su tarea ayer. Nosotros hicimos nuestra tarea ayer. Ellos hicieron su tarea ayer. Okay? Those are just some example sentences, right? They did their homework yesterday, we did our homework yesterday, etc., etc. Okay, last one. I'm just going to stick with this color for the final one, and that's tener. Okay, there's another one that you just got to memorize. It's not that hard once you get going. Get rid of that. Okay, so take off the ER, and let's take a look at what we got. We have yo tuve. Tuve. T-U-V-E. T-U-V-E. Tú tuviste. That's not an accent. Sorry. That's just a normal thing. If it's everything, I will do it up like that. That's just handwriting. Okay. Él, ella, and usted. They had. So I had, you had, él, ella, y usted. So he, she, or you. Tuvo. Tuvo. Right? Nosotros. Nosotros. Tú. What do you think it is? Look, we've taken off our ending, and since it's irregular, we've changed this part, and now we have tuv, 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 tuv. What do you think this is? Tuvimos. Ellos. Ellas. And ustedes, abbreviating that, is tuv. What? Easy money right there. Tuvieron. So, yo tuve. Yo tuve. Yo tuve el libro ayer. I had the book yesterday. Okay. Yo tuve el libro ayer. It's kind of an awkward sentence, but tú tuviste. Well, let's just do yo tuve tiempo ayer. I had time yesterday. Yo tuve tiempo ayer. Tú tuviste tiempo ayer. Él, ella, usted tuvo. Él tuvo. So we have tuv, we have tuviste, we have tuvo, and we have tuvimos, and we have tuvieron, hieron. Barely see that I, but anyways. Okay, tuvieron. Right? Okay, so that's that. Yeah. You can screenshot this if you want. So E-R-I-R-A-R in the preterite. E-R is iste, yo, imos, hieron. I-R is the exact same. Iste, yo, imos, hieron. A-R is haste, o, amos, aron. Okay, and look at these patterns. Instead of E, it's just haste, iste. That makes sense because this is E-R-I-R, so that's iste, and A is haste. Instead of io, it's just o, so it's just one letter less here because there's no I that we're including here. It's just AR, so just O. Nosotros is amos instead of imos, imos versus amos, and hieron, and obviously AR would be aron. So that's ustedes, ellos, and ellas form. So we looked at like imprimir would be imprimí, imprimis, imprimió, imprimimos, imprimieron. An AR verb like tomar would be tomé, tomaste, tomó, tomamos, tomaron. Yeah, so if you get some of these down, all you ever have to do with any verb at all is just remove the ending and plug in remove the AR, ER, IR of the unconjugated verb and plug in these preterite conjugations and you're done. Except for some irregular verbs, which like ver was vi, viste, vio, vimos, vieron, which is not crazy. It's very similar to these. Ser and ir, two super necessary verbs. You're going to use them all the time, have the exact same conjugation. So that just simplifies things. So you might as well memorize these. Fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, fueron. Okay? Once we changed it to this irregular form, then it followed its kind of logic. We just had fue, 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 fue every time, and then we went iste, imos, eron. Same thing with hacer, which was instead of as, it changed to is. Okay? Hice, hiciste, hizo, hicimos, hicieron. Tener, instead of ten, it changed to tu. So we had tuve, tuviste, tuvo, tuvimos, tuvieron. All right. GG's. That's it. Let me know if you have any questions. Or if you want me to send you anything.